So let's continue where we left off yesterday. I gave you guys some work time toward the end to try and figure out how to do the rotation arm piece element. And there are a number of things that you can do in order to get the armature to rotate properly. The way that I'm gonna plan to do it is I'm going to move my frames to the midpoint of my line, and then I'm going to move a point out away from that midpoint and then put a rotator on it. The reason I'm using move is because, rather than rotating like this point right here, is because if I rotate an existing point, I can't control how far away it is. So I want to generate a new point. So the first step for me is going to be finding the midpoint. And you guys all know this like the back of your hand now. It's under curve, division, divide curve, with a panel that's going to tell us we're going to divide it by 2. Okay, so there's our midpoint. And just referencing back to part of yesterday, I have this perpendicular frame that is aligned with every single one of my masts. And so that's good because when, and it doesn't, rotate in odd directions, and that's good because when I start to rotate my arms in the concave conditions, they're going to get really close to one another, and so I want to make sure that I'm at least on plane, right? So there aren't any unexpected conflicts. So it's really, you can do it a number of ways, and it all depends on what kind of functionality you want. I'm going to simply just reposition this frame to the new position, which is this midpoint. And so in order to do that, I have to select the midpoint using list item. And you know that that's going to be a static number 1. And then the tool that I'm going to use is under vector and plane. And yeah, plane origin. So I'm going to use plane origin, and you got a little bit of a sun blast on the screen there, but I'm going to use plane origin, and it's going to ask for a base plane, and then it's going to ask for a new origin. And so it's as simple as taking the plane from the exercise before and then plugging it into the new origin, which is this point right here. And you see that it's creating a whole bunch of them, but that's because it's not grafted properly, so it needs to be grafted on both list inputs. There you go. There you can see the copy. So let me turn off the original, and then I'll move forward. So with this, I am essentially going to do the same thing that I did before, where I move a point away from this frame, except the vector that I move it along is going to change, right? So I could borrow a lot of this. I could borrow move. I could borrow well, actually, it's not even really worth borrowing anything. So I'm going to go to transform Euclidean and move, and then start reconstructing it backwards. So the thing that I'm going to move are going to be these points. These points will plug in as the geometry to move. And the key that we need to identify is how to control where it moves. If we're going to move it using these planes, then clearly we're going to borrow one of the vectors from that plane so that we can control its direction. So I can do that by going to vector plane and deconstruct plane. Now it's not super easy to see for you on the screen there, but the Y direction is going directly up and the X direction is going side to side. Now bear in mind, guys, that those planes are not currently tilting with the line itself. If you want it to tilt with the line itself, then all you have to do is just borrow all the rotational properties from before and then feed this in. So then you would tilt the plane as well. So anyway, I've got my vector. I'm going to need an amplitude, so I'll just go to vector amplitude. And let's see. So I know that I'm going to be moving this in the x direction. Okay, so x is going to be my vector. And then I need to define the amplitude, and I'll make that a slider from 0 to 15, I guess, for now. Actually, 0 to 20. I have no idea how long it's going to be, these arms. And this is temporary. The actual arm distance is temporary. We're going to change that, actually, with a bit of a range. So just be aware. Okay, from that point, it's really just a matter of creating a line from one to the other. So you can just go curve, primitive line, and it's going to be this geometry and that geometry. And there you have your armature. Okay. Actually, do I want to rotate? In this particular case, I guess it doesn't really matter if you create a line to the point now, and then, well, actually, I want to rotate the I want to rotate that geometry first, actually. So so this point is going to rotate around this, and so I'll have to go to transform Euclidean and pick a rotate that's going to be appropriate. So remember that what we used last time was rotate around a plane, which we could use this time again, and we'd have to borrow the properties of the plane that we wanted to rotate around, which would be these. So I can put that into my P input for the plane. The geometry is obviously going to be these points, and so those can turn off now. And then we create our angle. So I'll go to math, trig, radians. And I'm going to say, I don't know, negative 90 to 90 for now. So here you can see that I'm going negative 90 degrees is rotating it all the way straight down, which is physically impossible, and positive 90 is going straight up. So this just helps us to figure out which number range we want to define if we want to create a variable for it. So I can increase the distance out. And then rotate it up and down. Questions so far? No questions. Okay. So I'm going to stop this video here. Oh, and we can create the line now between the two. I'm going to stop the video here and just make a note about these two items. These two items are going to have to transition to be a particular type of variable, right? Because I gave you some information here about how it should look. So I'll jump into that here in the next video.